Okay, we're in Parshas Vayeitzei, and the pasuk says in Perek Kavches, "Vayidur Yaakov neder lemor." This is actually at the end of Rishon, first Aliyah. Yaakov he made a neder saying, "Imi yeh Elokim imadi ushemarani b'derech hazer asher anochi hoilech." If Hashem's going to be with me and guard me on the way that I'm going, and he's going to give me lechem lechel, bread to eat, ubeged lilbosh, and clothing to wear. So then Yaakov vows, saying, "V'shavti b'shalom abeis avi," I will return to my father's house in peace. V'haya Hashem li Elokim, and Hashem will be a God for me. So the Sforno over here comments, Yaakov was saying that if he had all of his basic needs, he had lechem lechel, beged lilbosh, he had bread, he had clothing, not necessarily extras. Right? He wasn't asking for moistures, luxuries. He's asking for necessities. Then he would return in peace, both physically, emotionally, spiritually. It would all be good. Then Hashem was going to be Elokim to him. Right? Hashem li Elokim. Now, Elokim, that Shem Hashem, is din, strict judgment. Right? Rashi and Shmos, Chav Beis, Zion. I mean, din, judgment. Right? So if the Seforno explains, he will have all of his needs, he was committed to stand in front of Hashem and to be judged and stand against those claims. That's the claims of judgment that's represented by the Shem Hashem of Elokim. It's Rashi in the beginning of Bereshis also. In other words, he was prepared to strive for absolute perfection. So the question is, I don't understand. So does this mean to say that if Yaakov didn't have bread, didn't have clothing, chas v'shalom, does that mean that he wasn't expected to strive to perfect himself, to withstand this seriousness, the scrutiny of justice, of judgment, rather? Now, keep in mind, we're talking about that not just one of the avos, but this is the Bechir Sheba avos, the chosen of the avos, says in the Bereshis Rabbah, in Ayin Vav, Parsha Ayin Vav. Now, there are many of Yaakov Avinu's descendants who didn't achieve such a level, and nevertheless, they overcame their challenges, even without the bread and the clothing, so to say. There's many examples throughout Kol Torah Kul. Let's just talk about Rabbah as one example. They didn't even have food, not only human food, they didn't even have animal food that they could eat. There were nothing. But even so, with all of this poverty, even so, his mind remained sharp as anything, razor sharp. When he was learning and he was appointed Rosh Hashiva, when he was only 18 years old, he only lived to the age of 40. The Gemara talks about in Mo'i Katan, Chafal, Rosh Hashanah, Yudches, the more known Gemara, Yudches, Rosh Hashanah. He was in the yeshiva for 22 years, Gemara at the end of Brachos, and he became a big bucky in the laws of Saras and Oalos. Halachas of leprosy and tents, all the Tum and Tahara, the very complex halachas of Maseches Oilos. So they had nothing to eat, and he reached tremendous heights, and there's many other examples as well. So do we mean to say that now Yaakov is coming along and saying he needs lechem lechel beged lilbosh, that he needs clothing and he needs the bread? What's going on over here? How on earth does that make sense? How could that be over here? What's the explanation? So Rabbi Yaakov Golinsky quotes a Maisa. It's a story with the Divrei Chaim of Sanz, Chaim Halberstein. He was standing by the window, and he saw a Jew passing by, and he called him over. So the Yid came in front of the Rebbe, and he said, "Tell me something." He said, "You're walking in the street, you find a wallet full of money. You look around, no one's there. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Wallet full of money." So what would I do? The Yid replied, "I'm gonna return it to its owner right away." I don't know who owns it. I'm gonna put up a sign that I found the wallet. And whoever lost it should come and get it with the simonim, of course. Elam Metzias, you need simonim. Yiyush, the whole sugya, Baba Metzi over there. So the Divrei Chaim said, "You're shaita." He said, "You're a fool." He said, "Wait over here." So he returned to the window. He signaled to a other yid to come in. Individual came to the Divrei Chaim and asked the same question. You're walking in the street, you find the wallet. What would you do? Oh, so this yid, his eyes lit up with tremendous confidence, and he said, "Rebbe, Sanz is a city." By the way, if you didn't know, Shalos and Tshuva is Divrei Chaim. Excellent work. Also, then you have the Shalos Tshuva is Divrei Yotzev. So the Sanz Rebbe. So this yid said to the Rebbe, he said, Sanz is a city whose most of the population, they're Goyim. They're not Jewish over here. Right? So therefore, if a lost object is found, it belongs to him. Because there was for sure Yish. Yeah, they were Yish. They said, yeah, of course. So, Yish is no problem. Said, oi, if only that happened, that I'd had that nice juicy wallet, I could finally pay off my debts. So the Rebbe responded, "You, Russia, you're wicked." He said, "Wait over here." So the Rebbe returned to his spot by the window. He signaled over to a third yid, and he said, "Come over here." The yid came over. He asked the same question. What would you do? You walk on the street, you found a full wallet over here. So this yid answers. He said, "Look, if the Rebbe is asking me what I'm supposed to do, I know I'm supposed to try and find the one who lost it. I'm supposed to return the wallet to its rightful owner. But if the Rebbe is asking me what I would actually do, the truth is, I don't know what I would actually do. I don't know. On the one hand, the Vayeitzei Tov, my good inclination is going to try to encourage me to return it. Whereas the Vayeitzei Hara is going to find all the reasons in the world to try to keep it. After all, it's a city, the majority of people aren't Jewish. And one shouldn't put himself before others. One shouldn't be stringent in the expense of one's children. But there's going to be a struggle. I don't know what would happen. I don't know who would prevail. The Rebbe responded, "You're a chacham. You're very wise in that response. This is the kind of person, the truth is, who would return the wallet. Because he knows that he's going to have to struggle and he's ready to deal with it. He knows that his Vayeitzei Tov is going to say what his Vayeitzei Tov is going to say. And he's going to be able to convince him to go with the Vayeitzei Tov and not like the Vayeitzei Hara and choose the right side. This is what Yaakov Avinu was saying. Yaakov is saying, Hashem, until now, I was by my father's house. And I was sheltered in the yeshiva of Shem Vever. That time I had Baruch Hashem, lechem, le'echol, ma'im, lilbosh, bread to eat, beged lilbosh, excuse me, lechem, le'echol, beged lilbosh, and I had clothing to wear. Everything was good. I was an ishtam, yoshev, ohalim, innocent person, wholesome person. Complete person, as Targum Onkelos says in that pasuk, gracious, kafei chav zayin. So if I had my needs, I'd be able to fulfill my obligations. I would be able to stand before Hashem in judgment without shame. But if not, I'm going to find myself with the challenge. What's going to happen? Who's going to prevail if I'm not in that good environment? Who knows what's going to happen? Chazal teaches the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Kuf Zayin Amud Aleph, La'olam al yavi odem atzmo lidil nisayon. A person should never bring himself to a test, so to say. Never cause himself to get tested. Shari David Melech Yisrael Hevi Atim L'Dil Yisrael V'Nichshel. Whole discussion of itself. David HaMelech failed this. Brought himself to a test, he failed. Whole discussion of itself. Ma'aseh Basheva, the Gemara in Shabbos, and I think it's Nun Hey. Anyone who says that David is Chet Ein Elato, he's making a mistake. There's a lot of discussion in and of itself. Massive discussion. But the idea is that if David HaMelech failed, Yaakov Avinu was afraid, then also all the more so we have to be careful. We have to be afraid. Maran Baruch Dav Gimel, Shema Yigrim Chet, person might come to sin, whole discussion. Person has to be very careful about this.
What's the connection then?
So that's why he said no. why Hashem am I only going to serve you if I have lechem lechel beged little bosh? The answer is because then I know with certainty that I'm going to be in the right spot. When I was by my father's house and I was in the base medrash of Shem Be'ever, I knew that everything was good. I could say with 99% certainty, I could definitively conclude that I would serve you properly when I was taken care of. I was in the proper physical and spiritual environment. However, now that I'm no longer in the environment, Yaakov was saying, now I'm not sure what's going to happen. Just like when the Yid with the Rebbe, when he found the wallet, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I hope that I'm going to do the right thing, but I can't say for sure. Yetzer hara, not the right environment. This reminds me of something that I said over in a shiur 10 years ago. It's actually on the recording in Parshas Bechukosai 2014 on RabbiBlan.com. It's on there. Look it up. 10 years ago. It says in Bechukosai Seilechu, so you're going to follow in my ways, etc. Then you're going to eat your bread, be satiated, etc. You're going to get brachos. So Rashi over there quotes well-known Torah's Kohanim Shetu Amelim B'Torah. A person should toil in Torah. So the Yalkut Lakachtov over there brings a Maisa story, excuse me, that Rabbi Nachum Zev says. He's the son of the Alter Mikalm. Says the following story. There's a group of people that they were eating. The entire time that they were sitting at the table, it was impossible to differentiate between them. Everyone looked similar. However, once they finished their meal and everyone walked away from the table, one person remained in his place. Now, originally, they were unaware. They weren't sure. Why is he staying over there at the table? Right? What's he doing over there? Everyone else is leaving. But then subsequently, they realized that he was paralyzed. He was unable to walk, handicapped. Now, the entire time when they were sitting around the table, the difference between them was indiscernible. Couldn't tell. Everyone's just sitting at the table. Afterwards, the difference was glaringly apparent. Everyone's able to just walk, and he's not able to. Explains Rav Nachum Zev, the same applies to people who are learning in yeshiva. Many times we see people after high school to go to Eretz Yisrael a year or two. Maybe they'll even learn a couple of years after, but what's going to happen in 10, 20 years down the line? When everyone's in yeshiva, it's very difficult to distinguish. Everyone's wearing the same garb, eating the same food, going to the same minyanim, they have the same exact seder. But what's going to happen everywhere afterwards? They're all at the same table in yeshiva. But where are they 10, 20 years from now? That's why back then, and this is the perfect time to say this is a 10-year anniversary. It was, where will you be in 10 years from now? Where will you be in 20 years from now? The people who I was in Shar Yashiv with 10 years ago, where are they now? Unfortunately, I've seen some pretty bad cases actually with some people. Unfortunately. Yeah, fortunately. Now, one of the guys came from a more, not as yeshivish background, but I remember one time I went to a wedding in the city. He left the wedding, he took his yarmulke off. Can't make that up. Can't make that up. So where are we going to be in 10 years from now? Who's going to walk away from the table and who chas v'shalom is going to be spiritually paralyzed? Who's going to continue in the correct derech hatayr and mitzvahs and who will not? That's exactly what it comes down to. Following in the right way, keeping it going. Based on this, we could explain the pasuk. Im bechukoisai teilechu means that if you're going, you have legs to properly walk in the way of the Torah. We shouldn't be embarrassed with our avodas Hashem, no matter who we're around. We do it the proper way. So that's Yaakov. Yaakov says, right? Well-known idea, Im Lavan Garti. Right? He says, I lived with Lavan. Right? So Rashi over there brings Medrash. Im Lavan Garti, same gematria as Tari. Tari mitzvah Shemati v'lo ma'asim ma'asim haroim. Right? So a lot of people ask Akash over there. What's the chiddush? Yaakov of Avinu, the Bechir Shabbat, that's a chiddush that he didn't follow in the ways. So there's a lot of answers over there, but yeah, when you're in an environment and it's a bad environment and it's not your home court, so to say, so you got to think twice. You got to be careful over there. That's what he's saying. But there's a lot of different answers on that. So how could we keep this level going? How could we stay strong, keep this going? The answer it is we have to connect ourselves. We have to learn Torah. We have to learn Torah. We have to put ourselves in that good environment, so to say. That's what it basically comes down to. And there's more of an elaboration even over there to go into. Right. But this is the idea of the Orach Chaim HaKadosh actually. On there he says that there are 40. He provides over 40 explanations what that means. It's a whole discussion what it means. The Torah is a chok. So one idea is even when a person is going, they're going to be staying on that right path, going in the right way, right? Even when they're on that path. It's a big thing. People who I used to learn with, now they work full time. A lot of them have large families now. So someone once told me, he said, when a person is working full time, let's talk about, for example, a regular Ashkenaz Jew. Most Ashkenaz Jews are high paid employees. That's the fact, most, right? So they go out to work. The job isn't just 9 to 5, it's longer hours. And a lot of times the work comes home with them. Even if they don't necessarily have to email people back late at night or text people back, communicate. Nevertheless, this individual told me, he said, it's always on your mind. So the chiddush is to block it out. When a person is opening the sefer, to try to block everything else out. That's the trick. And to focus on what's going on. It's the same thing with davening. When a person davens, discussed in the past, Rabbi Glinsky has a long piece on this. Most people, the reality is, it's very hard to focus. Talk about Shemona Esrei. Right, he brings the mice over there. But there's a story with a tenant. He owed his landlord $30,000, a year and a half worth of rent. So his landlord calls him in to have a meeting, comes in, and happened to be coincidentally that night his landlord was making a big party. He comes in, sits in front of the fireplace, and he takes out his ledger over there, and he starts looking at the cheshbonos, and he's making a cheshbon over here, and he says, "Wait a second, it says I owe you $2,500." He takes the whole book, throws it in the fire. What's going on over here? He's furious. Get out. So the guy runs out. So he goes to the Rebbe, I forget which Rebbe, and he asks the Shaila. He says, I owe my landlord $30,000. He thinks that he owes me $2,500. Do I need to tell him the truth and pay him? So the Rebbe asks one question. Is he Jewish or not? So he says, no, he's not Jewish. So he says, in that case, don't worry. You don't need to worry that he's going to remember that you really owe him 30,000 because he doesn't daven Shemona Esrei. In other words, people during Shemona Esrei, they're thinking about every single thing other than Shemona Esrei. I once had a chavrusa. He used to have 15-minute Shemona Esrei, no less. And I had another chavrusa also. It was over 20 minutes. We would come back from breakfast. He was still in the middle of Shemona Esrei. So the first person who I'm talking about, the second one, I haven't seen him in years. So I saw him. I noticed his Shemona Esrei was 4 or 5 minutes more of a standard Shemona Esrei. What happened? He said, instead of just having a long Shemona Esrei in space, I figure I'll just have a shorter one. And look, some people they could focus. It's a big avoda to learn about what davening is. Shemona Esrei. Most people never go down that road. There's dozens of svarim on tefillah to write sharim betfil. All these svarim hakadoshim to go into it, but lamaisa, we have to have that realization that it's all. I was talking about this yesterday with someone. It's all about the machshava. Right, we're going to thoughts now. That's what it comes down to. Thoughts. The thoughts are the main priority. Now, avodas Hashem, of course, the mice is very important. We have to do. We can't just think. We can't just learn and not apply what we're learning. But the thoughts, chayvos halavavos. The problem is that most people are not big talmidim of chayvos halavavos. This is a very important sefer with Victor Miller's. There's a tremendous amount of commentaries on, because the thoughts is everything. You could have two people, they're doing the same exact thing. One's getting an avera for it, one's getting for a mitzvah. Why? Why are they doing what they're doing? Why are they doing it? It's all about the thoughts. What's a person's mindset? You could have
First,
two people. They both have $10 million. One's getting mitzvahs every single time. He's not even talking about where the money's going. Right now, they both have 10 million. Let's say they're in the same place, whatever it is, they're invested the same way, whatever it is. One's getting an aveir for having it, the other one's getting a mitzvah. Why? Because one guy, he already has in mind, I'm just going to be using it to be mamale taivas, to fulfill his lusts and desires. And those desires he's only doing not so that he could learn Torah. He's only doing that so that he could get to the next desire, so that he'll feel good, because it's all about the today. Live now, for we might die tomorrow. The fella's saying to himself. That's what they do. A lot of people, they party today, they live like there's no tomorrow, as the saying goes. However, the other fella, he has it and he has in mind, no, I have it because this will enable my children to either learn or marry serious people who are an Eved Hashem, who are Yirei Shemayim, serious people.
change the date. I didn't change the date.
It's all Chayvus Halavavos. The Gemara in Yuma on Chavtes says, Hiro Havira, Kashan Havira, which means that the thoughts of a sin are worse than the sin. So if you look at Rashi over there's a lot of explanations in what that means. A lot of explanations. Rashi seems to say that it weakens the body more, the thoughts of sinning. Take a look at the Yaakov over there. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't seen it in a long time, but when a person sins, let's say, for example, say something practical. Most people don't have such chayvas nowadays, but there are many people that do. Guy says, I want to eat out IHOP. Right? What's the chap with the IHOP? It's only dairy. I think IHOP's dairy, right? Yeah, it's only pancakes. It's only dairy. You see, there's some people like I'm gonna eat not kosher, but if it's not meat and milk, it's not a daraisa, it's rabbinic, and it's only dairy. What's the big deal? Those people probably don't even realize that if they would have not kosher chicken, it would only be a problem rabbinically. But okay, fine, but they're not that wise. But anyways, so what?
Lard.
What's lard?
Lard is pig fat, that they put.
Oh, yeah,
That they
yeah.
put in the, in the dairy.
Yeah, okay, so they're not that smart either. They say it's only dairy, it's not the real meat and milk, and so they'll go out. Right. So after they have that meal, I'm so satisfied now I could go back to the kosher restaurants. Right. So nowadays by us this isn't a problem. Central Avenue, you got over 50 restaurants over here, and then Hewlett already is pushing into and Rockaway Turnpike, but back then, you go back to what the Five Towns was 20 years ago, you didn't have the smorgasbord of options that you have in the high-end restaurants. Okay. So the guy comes along and he's satisfied. He's done now. He doesn't need any more. He was Malay his taiva. He filled up, so to say. But the guy who's thinking, he has in mind, now I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that, I need to do this. So it's never ending. It's always eating at him. His taiva. So he needs to work on those machshavas. That's the whole inyan of
Go and check the good people.
not just shar bitachon, the other sharm also, to realize that the truth is, I'm not the biggest expert. I'm definitely not an expert in Solvus Avavos. I'm just starting my journey. But the shar of shar bitachon, the idea is to realize that every single thing, and we should think about this on a daily basis. Everything that happens is for our good. It's the hashkacha pratis of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's divinely orchestrated, whether we could comprehend it in this world or not. Every single thing is from Hashem. If a person truly internalizes this, which is essentially Gam Salutova, Koma, David Rahman al-Tavu Avid, but a person realizes that every single thing happens and it's part of Hashem's greater plan, person is living a different life, a much happier life, a much more fulfilling life. And then the Shara Avodas Alokim, a person realizes that every single thing that Hashem does, we have to be thankful for. We have to be grateful for, appreciative of that. The fellow's living a totally different life, completely. Because how many people think about on a daily basis, Baruch Hashem, I could walk, I could talk, I could move, I could breathe, I could chew, I could eat, I could go to the bathroom. How many people think, Baruch Hashem, I could go to the bathroom? Learning about now in the Kollel, Hilchos Ksamim in your day of Kuf Tzadi, talking about a guy who, when he goes to the bathroom, he bleeds. Talking about Tlios, to be toilo, the dam for it. Don't worry about the details of the halacha. When I was learning that, I was thinking not just from a halachic perspective, but from a hashkafic perspective.
Yeah.
Think about how fortunate we are. Catheters, other methods that people are. But anyways, that's the chayvus halavavos, to think about the mind. It's a big problem. Additionally, when one of my older chavushis, he told me, said, look, person comes to a chabura, person has a chavrusa. How much of their day is that? Maybe an hour. Guy's doing great. Baruch Hashem, he's sitting and learning an hour, let's say, even a half an hour. But what about the other 23 hours in the day? Okay, so 7 hours you're sleeping, whatever. But what about the majority of the day? So most people are really working most of the day. So the question is, what's happening in the environment? These work environments, if a person isn't careful, and if a person isn't continuing to grow, they could destroy a person. Completely destroy a person with the lashon hara, with the cursing that goes on, which, by the way, in the working world and in the not Jewish world, right, the cursing is out of hand. It's regular, and it's so low that you have such people that are so high in how society views them. I'm talking about the upper of the upper class. People who are worth tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. And for them, it's no midos. It's not even a hasaga. They're just cursing. Kas. They're just getting angry. Angry. They have everything. It's something that a person needs to be careful about. All of these inyanim, the discussions that happen there, the cursing, the inappropriate talk that happens, what people are talking about. We have to be very careful about this. This is what Yaakov was saying, not to learn from the ways. Right, so the Nachla Svi over there on that, he says, what's the chiddush? He says, there are two ways, this is even a questionable idea that he says, but there are two ways of serving Hashem. He wants to say the best way of serving Hashem is like Avraham Avinu. He found HaKadosh Baruch Hu on his own. He says that this is the emes, this is the right path. The second way is you look at what's going on around you. You look at how certain people are living, all of the hypocrisy, all of the, you just say to yourself, wait a second, does it make sense to live like that? What am I in this world for? What's the purpose? What am I here to do? Have fun? Is that the ultimate purpose? That's what I'm doing? Person says, oh, I'm not going to go like that. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. So the best way is to do it on your own, so to say. And that's what he says, Haderech Josh. Means I live with Lavan, but I didn't learn from his ways what not to do. There's something called a role model, but there's something that my uncle likes saying, a reverse role model. People who are doing the wrong thing, you should learn from them what not to do. Okay? So he was saying, Yaakov was saying, no, I learned from Lavan. I didn't even learn what not to do from him. I didn't even use him as a reverse role model to give me chizuk to do what I'm supposed to do. I did it all on my own, he's saying. So that's the inyan over there of Imlav and Garti, and to do it what we're supposed to be doing on our own. So at Bekitzer, that's the inyan. Now there's a much longer piece of the Emes Yaakov as a whole Torah on the type of yeshiva that they needed to for prepare for all these things, but that's what it comes down to, you know, not following the right way, doing the right thing, what we're supposed to be doing, make sure that we're still on the right path, and that's why it's very important to have shaykhus with someone and maybe even discuss from time to time, make sure, is this happening good, is that happening? Another thing to talk about is in the workplace, a lot of times, people sometimes are embarrassed to say brachas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's hard.
that's whether it's in a share yotzer or whether it's brachas on food before and after, right? So this doesn't happen to me often because I'm very isolated. I'm in a ghetto of, I'm really only in Jewish areas, shuls, yeshivas, right? But when I do travel, once every 10 years on a plane or whatever it is, so this could happen, or if I'm in a public area, a mall, whatever it is. So what I do is I do simply, so it doesn't look like I'm talking to myself. I have the share yatzar card over here, and it's in my wallet, and I just take it out, and I just read from it. I look at it and I read from it. That's all I do. So you don't look weird. Someone sees that you're busy doing something, so they're not going to interrupt you.
Most people don't care what people don't do.
Yeah, most people don't care what they're doing, but every so often you get a comment, you know, and it's not a problem of you're carrying it in a bathroom because if it's in your wallet and in a pocket,
Pocket in a
it's
pocket.
it's double covered, so it's fine. But there are stories of sometimes people asking, "You talking to yourself?" You say, "No, I was saying a special prayer. That Baruch Hashem, we're grateful that we could use our bowels properly and urinate, excrete properly." And the person says, "Wow, what a kiddush Hashem, that's so beautiful." Yeah, that's good. And also before eating, you say it. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be ashamed. That's why they say, "Vayeitzei elav belonei mameh, uyushapet kol mayom, yarvi hine noshen," etc. So after the Milah, Hashem appeared to Avram belonei Mamre in the plains of Mamre. Who's Mamre? Rashi over there brings. Besides that, Mamre is someone that gave advice to Avram on the Milah. Right? Question is, what type of advice did the founder of Mamre to ask from Mamre? Right? So there's many answers to this question. One answer is Avram was asking, look, from the perspective of people that are outside, what do you think? Should I do this Milah publicly or privately? Mamre said, do it publicly. We will respect you more if you practice your Torah and mitzvahs, your avodas Hashem publicly. Don't be embarrassed to do it. Do it publicly. We'll respect you more. So the idea is not to be ashamed. That's what it says in the first siman of Shulchan Aruch. That even if Bnei Adam Maligan Alav, Al Yisbaishishu, don't be embarrassed. Even if they're straight up making fun of you, don't be embarrassed. Because we know that we're from Yid. Just like if a person's in an army, Avdil is in an army, and he gets commanded to do something, and it's a little degrading or it's a little, and people are saying, what are you doing? They're making fun of him doing this. What do you mean? You're part of an army. You don't care what other people say. It's part of a greater cause. It's part of the country that you're fighting for. Part of the people who live there that you're fighting for. It's a greater cause. So too, we're part of the army of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have to do what's right. We're soldiers. That's the idea. That's actually what Rosh Shimshon Pinkas sets out, how he discusses how the dress code. We dress, we're part of the army of Hashem. He has a whole Torah on that. But anyways, so this is the idea of why he said, Lechem echel ubagid lilbosh. He said, bread to eat, clothing to wear, because I know if I'm taken care of, if I'm in the right both physical and spiritual environment, I know that the likelihood of me succeeding are far greater than if I'm not physically taken care of and spiritually. And by the way, here's another piece on that. Imein kemach ein Torah, but it's also, the Mishnah also says Imein Torah ein kemach, which is a whole discussion of itself what that means. But the idea is that he wasn't as sure if he wasn't in that good physical and spiritual environment, and he knew that, so he was. That's why he said that as the condition. All right, everyone should have a wonderful day. Welcome to you.
Sure.
So the reason why you brought in Lovin Garti
Yeah,
is because when Yaakov Vayeitzei, when he says that I need to beg a lechem lechel beg a lubosh, I need the proper surroundings, I need the proper environment.
exactly.
Tell me to become to do what I need to do.
Right.
And therefore, and Yaakov was telling you that, the environment I was in, that was the finish there, because such a bad environment, that's.
Right, exactly.
How do you want Hashem to save us from that type of environment?
Exactly.
Okay, so make sure.
You don't want to bring yourself to Nisan, but if he's already there, he'll try the best he could, just like the guy with the wallet. Try the best he could, but he doesn't know for sure. We try. We gotta try. Yeah. Very good. Very good.
All right.
I didn't think it was gonna take that long, but
Wow.
yeah, I was planning on